Welcome back to Farang Footprints, where dreams are carried across borders and reality decides what survives. Today's story is told by Thomas, a trained butcher, 35 years old, who believed skill, effort, and determination would be enough to start over in Thailand. He did not come for beaches. He did not come for romance. He came with a plan. To build something real. To open a butcher shop in a country where nothing works the way it does at home. Along the way, he found help. He found resistance. He found danger. And he found love. Not loudly, not dramatically, but slowly and briefly. This is not a story about failure. It is a story about consequences, about success that arrives too late and love that leaves without asking permission. This is Thomas's story, told in his own words.
I was 35 when I decided to leave. Not because my life had collapsed, not because I was running from anything. I was a butcher, trained, certified, experienced. I knew meat. I knew hygiene. I knew business. What I did not know was how small my world had become. In Germany, everything worked. Licenses, inspections, suppliers, cold chains. And that was the problem. There was no room left to breathe. Thailand entered my head the way dangerous ideas usually do, quietly, logically, and with far too much optimism. I had visited before. I noticed something immediately. Good meat was rare, proper butchery almost non-existent. In my mind, that was not a warning. It was an opportunity. Ma missioned a small, clean butcher shop. European standards. Local customers. Maybe restaurants. I imagined control. I sold what I did not need, packed what I could, and told myself one thing: skill travels. Bureaucracy does not. I arrived with confidence and absolutely no understanding of how Thailand actually works. The first weeks were administrative hell. Permits contradicted each other. Officials smiled while refusing everything. Rules changed daily. That is when I met Niki. She was 41, German, had been in Thailand longer than I had even considered leaving Europe. She did not promise miracles. She did not sugarcoat. She just said, "You are doing everything right, for the wrong country." That was the first honest help I received, in the beginning of everything that followed. Nothing in Thailand stops you directly. It slows you down. It redirects you. It exhausts you until you stop pushing. With Niki's help, I began to understand that the system was not broken. It was simply not designed for people like me. Foreign ownership was limited. Food regulations were interpreted differently depending on the day. And every yes quietly contained a future no. We spent days driving from office to office, immigration, municipality, health department. Same smiles, same tea, same uncertainty. Niki translated more than language. She translated expectations. Do not ask directly, she said once. If they do not want to help, they will never say it. I learned to listen between sentences, to watch body language instead of words. Finding a location was worse. Markets were cheap but unreliable. Shophouses were expensive and legally complicated. Malls demanded connections I did not have. Each rejection chipped away at my certainty. Niki stayed pragmatic. She never tried to comfort me. That is normal, she would say. If it were easy, everyone would do it. We started eating together after long days, not dates. Just efficiency. But efficiency turns into routine, and routine creates familiarity. I noticed how she watched people, how she never rushed decisions, how she did not romanticize Thailand, or me. One evening, over street food, she asked me, "What will you do if this fails?" The question caught me off guard. I do not plan for that, I said. She nodded slowly. That is dangerous here. I laughed it off, but the words stayed with me because beneath the logistics, beneath the permits and delays, something else was forming. Not attraction yet, not intention, just the quiet realization that I trusted her and that trust felt rare. The shop was still imaginary, but my dependence on Niki was becoming very real. Money behaves differently when it is leaving faster than planned. I had calculated generously, startup costs, delays, unexpected fees. What I had not calculated was the erosion, small expenses, daily losses, slow bleed that does not trigger panic until it does. The location I wanted required renovations, cold storage upgrades, equipment imports. Each problem came with a solution. Each solution came with a price. Niki watched the numbers with me. She did not judge. She did not interfere. But she asked questions that mattered. Do you really need this machine now? Can this wait? What happens if the opening is delayed another month? I hated those questions because they exposed something I was not ready to admit. My confidence was still European. My reality was not. One evening, after another calculation session, I snapped. I did not come here to half-ass this, I said. Niki looked at me calmly. I know, she replied. That is why I am worried. That was the moment professional distance cracked. We were not just working anymore. We were invested emotionally, not financially. Later that night, we had drinks, not celebratory, defensive. We talked about past lives, about mistakes, about what it costs to start over after 40. She told me she had failed once in Thailand already, lost money, all sides, relationship. I stayed anyway, she said, because leaving would have meant admitting it was all a mistake. I understood that too well. The first time she touched my arm, it felt natural, not exciting. That is what scared me, because excitement fades, but comfort creates dependency. Around that time, someone else entered the picture, a man who did not care about permits or hygiene, her patience. He cared about speed, and he had money. I told myself I would not need him. I was wrong. He did not look dangerous. That should have been the first warning. He was polite, well-dressed, spoke calmly. He came recommended, which in Thailand does not mean safe. It only means familiar. The loan terms were simple, too simple. No paperwork worth mentioning. High interest, short timeline. I told myself it was temporary, just a bridge. Niki did not like it. I have seen this before, she said. It never stays small. I dismissed her concern. I do not have a choice, I replied. That was not entirely true. I had choices. I just not like them. The money solved immediate problems. Renovations resumed. Equipment arrived. Suppliers took me seriously. But the peace did not last. The lender started appearing unexpectedly at the site, at cafes. Always smiling, always reminding me of time. His tone changed gradually, less friendly, more precise. One day, he mentioned my visa status. That is when fear settled in, not panic, fear with structure. Niki pulled back, not emotionally, strategically. She stopped coming to meetings, stopped answering some calls. Distance is safety, she said. I did not listen. I pushed harder. The shop was close now. I could almost see it working. And in my mind, success would fix everything. Debt, tension, fear. That is when he stopped asking and started reminding. Once, quietly, he said, "People disappear here. Businesses too." I laughed. Who loudly? That night, Niki did not come over, and for the first time, I wondered whether my dream was putting more than money at risk. Fear does not announce itself loudly. It settles into your routines, into your sleep, into the way you scan rooms before sitting down. The lender stopped calling. That was worse. He started sending others instead, quiet men, uninterested faces. They never threatened directly. They did not need to. One of them leaned close once and said, "You should open soon, very soon." Niki noticed the change immediately, not because I told her, but because stress has a posture. She asked fewer questions now, gave more warnings. "You need an exit," she said. "Not success, an exit." I hated that word. Exit meant failure, or so I thought. One night, I found my motorbike moved, just a few meters, nothing damaged. A message without words. That was the moment denial ended. I started reaching out quietly. Restaurant owners, suppliers, people who understood informal economies. There was a way out, but it was not clean. A distributor offered an advance. A restaurant prepaid contracts. Cash flowed in sideways. Not enough to win, enough to survive. I paid the lender partially, late, not apologetic. His smile was gone. "You are making this difficult," he said. I nodded. So was he. Niki stayed away more often now, not because she did not care, but because she did. One evening, she said something honest. "I do not want to be near this when it explodes." I did not argue, because I finally understood. Dreams do not only cost money. Sometimes they cost proximity. I stopped thinking in weeks. I started thinking in hours. When someone has leverage over you, time stops being abstract. The lender came once more himself. No entourage, no smile. He stood in the half-finished shop, looked at the tiles, the hooks, the cold room. "You built something," he said. "Would be a shame if it never opened." That was the closest thing to a threat he ever made. It was enough. I activated every favor I had accumulated. Suppliers agreed to delayed payments. A restaurant owner increased his pre-order. A German expat bought into future deliveries he had not even tasted yet. None of it was elegant. All of it was necessary. I met the lender in a parking lot. Daytime. Public. I handed him the money. Everything I could gather. Not the full amount, but enough to end the game. He counted silently, and he looked up. "You are lucky," he said. "Do not come back to luck again." He left. Just like that. No closure, no relief. The danger was gone. The damage was not. Niki knew before I told her. She always did. "You are safe now," she said, "but I am done." There was no anger in her voice, only exhaustion. "I did not come here to live near fear," she continued, "and I do not want to build a life around someone who invites it." I wanted to argue, to explain, to promise. But explanations do not undo weeks of tension. Promises do not erase instincts. She hugged me once. Not long, not cold, final. When she walked away, the shot felt bigger, too big. The dream was still alive, but the warmth around it was gone. And I finally understood something I should have known earlier. Survival and success do not always arrive together. The butcher shop opened on a Tuesday. No ceremony, no ribbon, no crowd. Just a sign, freshly painted, and the smell of clean steel and cold air. The first customers were cautious. They looked at the cuts, at the cleanliness, at the prices. Then they came back. Restaurants followed. Word spread quietly. Quality speaks, even without translation. The shop worked. That was the strangest part. Everything I had fought for, permits, suppliers, equipment, finally aligned. And there wasn't one to share it with. Niki did not come by. I did not expect her to. I heard about her indirectly. She had joined a new circle, different friends, different priorities. Someone mentioned casually that she was seeing a woman. I was not surprised. Clarity often follows distance. The shop filled my days, orders, deliveries, early mornings. At night, the silence returned, not painful, honest. I realized something important. The dream had survived. The relationship had not. And neither outcome canceled the other. Success did not owe me love. Love did not owe me patience. One evening, standing alone in the shop after closing, I looked around and felt something unexpected. Not pride, stability. It was not the life I had imagined when I arrived, but it was real. And for the first time in months, I slept without checking the door. Success is quieter than people expect. It does not celebrate itself. It does not explain. It just stays. Weeks passed. The shop settled into rhythm. Suppliers trusted me now. Customers stopped asking questions. The cash flow stabilized. And with that stability came space. Too much of it. I saw Niki once from a distance. She was laughing, relaxed, holding another woman's hand. There was no jealousy, only understanding. She had found something I could not offer her anymore, a life without constant risk. I thought about the nights we spent calculating numbers, the meals eaten over paperwork, the tension we carried silently. Love does not disappear suddenly. It fades when survival replaces presence. I stopped checking my phone, stopped replaying conversations. The past did not need correction. It needed acceptance. The shop demanded discipline, not emotion. And in that discipline, I found balance. Sometimes, customers asked why I came to Thailand. I never told them the full story. I just said, I had a trade, and I wanted to see if it could live somewhere else. It had, even if parts of me had not come with it. One night, cleaning the counters after closing, I realized something quietly profound. Not every story ends with togetherness. Some end with continuation. And that, too, is a form of success. I state. That decision alone already separated my story from many others. I did not pack up, did not escape, did not rebrand failure as experience. The butcher shop became routine, not passion, not obsession, routine. And routine is what keeps you grounded when emotion fades. Some mornings, I opened the shop before sunrise. The cold room humming, the knives aligned, the day predictable. There was comfort in that. People assume loss must hurt loudly. It does not. It settles. I thought about Niki less often, not because she mattered less, but because she no longer belonged to my present. She had chosen clarity. I had chosen persistence. Neither of us was wrong. Sometimes customers joked about my accent. Sometimes they asked for cuts I would never sell back home. I adapted. That is what Thailand teaches you. Eventually, not surrender, adaptation. The loan was gone. The fear was gone. The lesson remained. Dreams do not fail because they are unrealistic. They'll fail because they are incomplete. I had brought skill, money, determination. I had not brought patience for vulnerability. If I could speak to the man I was, when I arrived, I would not warn him. I would simply tell him this. Success in a foreign country will always ask more than you plan to give. And sometimes it takes something you were not prepared to lose. The shop lights went off at the end of the day. I locked the door. Tomorrow would come, and I would be ready.
Thomas came to Thailand with a profession, not a fantasy. He believed skill and effort would be enough to build a new life in a new country. They almost were. What he did not anticipate was how closely dreams and danger can coexist when rules are flexible and time is borrowed. The butcher shop opened. Had the business survived? The threat passed. But love, the quiet kind built in shared stress and long days, did not. Niki chose a life without fear. Thomas chose persistence. Neither decision was wrong. Farang Footprints does not tell stories of winners and losers. It tells stories of consequences. Because in places far from home, success often arrives incomplete, and survival sometimes costs more than money. If you have walked a similar path or carry a story that deserves to be told, you can reach us at farangfootprints@gmail.com. Farang Footprints, real lives, real choices, far from home.